I'm meteorologist Carley Gomez with the latest update on the Palisades and Eaton fires burning in Southern California. We did get new updates that the structures burned have now totaled over 10,000 structures. This being provided, this information by Los Angeles fire chief down there, as they are now saying this is among the top destructive California wildfires now burning in our state's history. As we take a look at some of these numbers now coming in at number 3 and number 4, with the Palisades fire burning over 5,300 structures and the Eaton fire at over 5,000 structures. The asterisk mark there because they haven't officially put the numbers up yet on their website as statistics, but when you go onto their website, of course, it does show the top 20. This would put them at number 3 and number 4. The Camp Fire with over 18,804 structures. Of course, that was in Paradise. The Tubbs, 5,600 more structures burned there. And of course, everything underneath that. We had an Oakland fire, San Diego fire, and then of course that North Complex fire in Butte, Plumas, Yuba area with just 2,352 structures burned. So a lot of structures. That's homes, buildings involved, of course, schools, restaurants, businesses. I mean, they're really losing a lot. And these are preliminary. They're still doing their counting. They still have fires to control, and we could expect those numbers to continue rising. Now, as we look into Southern California, we are tracking the smoke here along with the red flag warning and the winds. Right now, what we're looking at into our evening hours as of Thursday night, Los Angeles smoke continuing to shift toward the west-southwest, even starting to hug areas just up against the coastline all the way down to San Diego, getting some areas of smoke with that. Now, as the winds continue to increase into our early morning hours, we'll expect a lot of that smoke to continue shifting as well, moving out to sea mostly, and a lot of areas into Southern California toward San Diego should get better air quality into Friday. But that smoke still sitting and hovering around Los Angeles and then continuing to shift just offshore with strong winds expected to continue. Now, we're going to have a very small break in the winds, which hopefully firefighters can use to their advantage and at least get some of the fires under control. But to get it completely under control in a matter of 12 to maybe 18 hours could be near impossible. We're expecting to see a very small window here to maybe get some of those fires at least extinguished for some neighborhoods, but otherwise we're going to see a big, strong, gusty event coming back as we move into Saturday. Air quality, well, it's been very bad. We're looking at very unhealthy to hazardous air quality in and around Los Angeles. A lot of that red there, unhealthy all the way down toward Orange County. And you can see just offshore near areas around Calabasas as well as toward Palisades, Malibu, looking at very unhealthy air quality there through the evening hours. Now, the red flag warning in effect until 6 p.m. on Friday. That's also a high wind warning in effect until Friday night. Now, they're still expecting to see strong gusts continuing through the afternoon Friday, still making it difficult to battle those flames and get everything under control. They're going to have that small window I mentioned before more strong gusts are set to arrive. Looking at those winds picking up as we look into Friday about midnight or so, we're going to see still strong gusts, 25 to 30 miles per hour, and then even stronger as we look at some of these canyon spots, getting gusts as high as 40 to 60 miles per hour. Also downslope winds pushing still toward Altadena. We're seeing the Eaton fire near Santa Clarita. We have the Hearst fire. And then, of course, near Pacific Palisades, where we're also seeing the Palisades fire burning. Now, as we finally move into Friday afternoon, this is where firefighters kind of get a little bit of a break, a little sigh, but this is where they really have to start working hard, trying to contain those flames while they have the chance. Getting into Friday afternoon, we're really going to see things slowing down. This is considerably slow considering what we were looking at just into Friday, but by Friday afternoon, about 10 to 15 mile per hour winds are expected. And then a pretty nice break until we get to about 9:30 a.m. The winds begin to pick up on Saturday morning, first coming in from the east downslope near Santa Clarita. Altadena gets a small break as well, so that's good news for the Eaton fire. Still good news in the morning hours, Pacific Palisades, but picking up for areas where the Hearst fire is. And of course, we also heard of the Kenneth fire near Calabasas. That has started up as of Thursday night. Now, moving into the evening hours Saturday, strong gusts still coming in, unfortunately, out of the north. And this doesn't just impact Southern California. We're looking at strong gusts across Northern California as well. That's going to pick up early Saturday morning for Northern California through the afternoon hours and then making its way into Southern California as we're seeing most of the strong gusts really centering itself near Santa Clarita, just to the west there, Simi Valley, all the way down through Calabasas and portions of Malibu and Pacific Palisades. This is Saturday evening. A small break, but not much, as mentioned before. As we still get into the early morning, 3:30 a.m., we may even be seeing stronger winds in the overnight hours. So make sure bags are packed. If you have family and friends down there, you're letting them know that they still need to be ready at a moment's notice, because the overnight hours can be some of the scariest times. It's hard to see out. You just have fire around you, and then the strong winds just pushing things quickly. Hard to really make out what's going on in the middle of the night as well. By 3:30 a.m., just strong gusts, again, coming in out of the east over these mountains in the Angeles National Forest, and then pushing through Simi Valley, Thousand Oaks, Oxnard, Palisades, Malibu. I mean, you name it, it's pushing through these sections here where fires have already broken out. Finally, Sunday afternoon is when we really start catching that break again, and we're hoping it sticks around for a little while longer, because after we get through Friday or most of Saturday, I should say, that is really where the firefighters are going to be tested, unfortunately, once again. Looking at current humidity down there, I mean, single digits. These are numbers you see in the summer. 8% relative humidity. That means it is bone dry out there. This is stuff you get when you see 100-degree temperatures, and they're getting that because the brush out there is so dry. They haven't had water in a very long time. I mean, since even really over the summer, if they got any kind of moisture at all, it was so minute that you really didn't get anything. It didn't do much. Looking at Oxnard, Camarillo, 22, 24%, not numbers you want to see by the ocean in the nighttime hours. The only place really benefiting right now is right around Santa Monica at 63%, but everyone else pretty dry, 20 to almost 50% relative humidity. Now, looking at where we're sitting from October 1st, which is the start of the water year, that is where we start to see our rainiest times going through the winter months. But you can see a pretty big divide. Really, it's right around Elk Grove, Sacramento, north, you see rain. Everything south here in a deficit. Looking at Santa Barbara to Los Angeles, you're looking at about 4.5 to 5.5 inches in deficit. Some of these areas have only gotten about 1/4 of an inch of rain this season. This is beyond below what they should be. Years past, they've had at least closer to some of these numbers that they should be on average. They've been average. Now we're literally seeing nothing. Trace amounts of rain and everything is completely dry. You add in those winds, then it's like we're back in the middle of summer. We're dealing with those Santa Ana winds, and we usually see them anywhere from about August through even November. Now we're getting them in January. And when they say fire season is year-round in California, I mean, it truly is now. We've seen it as late as December. Pushing into January and February, this is stuff that's unfathomable for some people. I mean, we know it can happen, but it is just getting that much worse. And even San Diego seeing the third driest start to their water year on record. And records are dating back to 1850, tracking how much rain we've seen. So you can really see that deficit from Central California south. And you're saying, why is everyone in the north getting rain and we're not? Well, we happen to be in a La Nina year. It is a weak La Nina. And what I want to preface this with is, we have La Ninas and we have El Ninos. And a lot of people in Southern California are familiar with El Ninos because typically when you have that kind of year, you get a lot of rain down there. But when you don't have an El Nino, you have a La Nina, it's drier in Southern California. So what happens is we have a high pressure system in the Pacific that builds and blocks any kind of storm system from making its way to Central to Southern California. Typically that high will also set up right around here. So a storm system can approach and just kind of goes up and over it, bringing in that wet weather for the Pacific Northwest and portions of Northern California, cutting off Central California to Southern California, where things may be normal for Central Valley, at least close to normal value. But meanwhile, Southern California stays very dry. And we are seeing that now. I mean, we're talking, again, trace amounts of rain if we got anything at all in October through early January, the start of the water year. So this is what happens. Now, when we're talking weak La Ninas, it's not always 100%. Oh, well, La Nina means dry. We're always going to be dry. It doesn't always work out that way, but it's just kind of something to forecast future predictions for climatology. But we have been able to track that at least 60%, so more than half of weak La Ninas have actually contributed drier conditions. Only 10% of a weak La Nina year has led to water. So majority of the time, we are leaning drier in a weak La Nina, with 30% being normal or average. Looking at the satellite radar setup as of Thursday, well, the high pressure's in place, the low just there east of Los Angeles in Southern California in the desert Southwest, circulating there, pushing winds, Fane winds and Santa Ana winds into Southern California. Meanwhile, the high helping to help funnel that in as well. The two close up against each other to help bring in that tight pressure gradient, increasing wind speeds. And we will see that high continuing to build for us as we move through the weekend. So unfortunately, meaning more strong winds. Looking into Saturday, 2 a.m., the strong winds start up for Northern California, continuing to bring 15 to 20 mile per hour winds into the overnight early morning hours. But check this out. As we get into Saturday, 3 p.m., the strong wind gusts continue for most of Northern California and portions of the Sierra. This is also funneling all the way down to Southern California, where unfortunately we're going to continue seeing those very strong wind gusts and not letting firefighters catch a break, at least for another day. We're going to continue to see those winds at least into early Sunday morning for Southern California. May not let up until even lunchtime, but for Northern California around lunchtime on Sunday, things will begin slowing down. Looking ahead, unfortunately, again, we're seeing drier conditions for the foreseeable forecast. Mid to low 60s and upper 50s continue for the weekend in Northern California, with temperatures overnight in low 40s and upper 30s as we move toward that following week. Still, not a raindrop in sight.